How's it going, my truant people? DrSlaking, the Slacking Doctor, back with week 5, I'm pretty sure it is, for the UBL. And this week, your Bowland Bovines are taking on GoldoaDragon and his New York Empoleons. If you didn't see the team builder that did go up yesterday, check that out for sure. But just to quickly go over the matchup here, we have an Expert Belt Nasty Plot Infernape. We have a Habanberry Specially Offensive Salamence. We have an Assault Vest Incredibly Spadef Diggersby. We have a Jolly Protect 3 attacks Sharpedo. We have, with a Focus Sash on there too, we have a Leftovers Physically Bulky Pivot Rotom and a Colbert Berry Physically Defensive Palisand. Didn't necessarily expect the Licky to come on my opponent's side, gonna have to play around that a little bit carefully, but the other 5 mons I was very well versed for in prep, all expected, all able to deal with. So looking at my opponent's team, Skarm is more than likely to be his designated Diggersby check. It will chew up hits from that thing, in theory, and will also hazard stack the hell out of me. Slowbro looks like his designated Infernape check, more than likely Fizz Death. The Zard X, probably going to be a D-Dance Breaker set, and then the Coco, either Shuka or Z, and the Heracross Scarf, those two being the primary late game win cons to clean up this match. That's very much how I'm expecting this to play out. So, I said it in the team builder if you didn't watch that, but we're going to lead it off with Infernape to bluff Scarf Infernape. I've got it right here at the front of my party. It's the first one he's going to write down. It's the first one he's going to think about. He's probably going to think if it leads, it's likely to be Scarf. That's what we all kind of think with Infernape, so we're going to bluff that immediately. But before I get into this battle, I just want to give you a huge thank you to AutoMatthic for recording this game for me. Very, very grateful to him. Now, let's get into this. So we're going to lead off with Wukong. Pretty much anything he leads with, I'm clicking Nasty Plot, barring the Tapu Koko. And even then, I might click Nasty Plot, because if I'm really going to bluff Scarf, he's probably going to switch out. So I'm probably clicking Nasty Plot on absolutely everything apart from maybe Zard that would stay in. As he goes into the Licky for his lead, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. I can still Nasty Plot on this, thinking there's no way in hell he wants to take a Scarf or Banded CC. He's going into Slowbro here every day of the week. And I'm clicking Nasty Plot, and then I'm killing something, or he's pivoting around into 6 different mons, and I'm getting 20% off on everything on his team, or more probably. So here we're just going to go for the Nasty Plot. I'm not going to make any reads. I wanted to Fire Blast or Flamethrower so badly, but I was like, no, I'm just going to Grass Knot. I've got no reason to over-predict here. So he goes out into Skarmory as I click Grass Knot, and we get off about, I don't know, 20% there as he's revealed to be Rocky Helmet, and Grass Knot makes contact. Did not know that. I'm only going to Flamethrower here ever because if he goes into Tapu Koko, the only thing that can outspeed me, he's going to take so much damage. He's probably going to die, in fact. So I figure like he's in a really tricky spot now where he's stuck in this cycle where he needs to go back to Slowbro and then go back to Koko on the Grass Knot to be able to go into anything. But in essence, I'm taking a KO, and he's chosen to give me Skarmory, which is incredible for our late game Sharpedo. So good that we've got rid of that massive physical wall immediately that Sharpedo struggled with. Here I can go into Crystal to scout what this Heracross is doing. He goes for the CC and reveals not to be Flame Orb, more than likely Scarf. So I'm going to double predicting him to switch out, knowing that he can't do too much to me, especially if he's Scarf. I'm going to double out into Infernape so that I can reapply offensive pressure. Like I just said, I can Nasty Plot on pretty much anything on his team barring the Tapu Koko, and I don't think you go Tapu Koko on a Palisand, right? So he actually does go into Licky, and I'm going to click Nasty Plot. Even if he Quakes, I should be able to take one if it's like an uninvested Earthquake. And I'm just going to get to +2 and basically force another KO. That's what this set does. It just forces KOs, and we're looking in an incredible spot right now, right? We've already broken the Skarmory. He's now in a really difficult position against this Infernape. Here, I'm just going to Flamethrower. I don't risk the miss of Focus Blast. I'll hit anything that wants to come in. If he wants to go hard, Tapu Koko or something like that, I'll KO it, and I'll at least get sort of 50% off on this Licky as he goes off the Wish here. And now I'm in a bit of an interesting situation, because obviously another Flamethrower won't kill this thing. He's going to get Leftovers recovery, as you see procking here. But what does he want to patch this Wish into? Does he just want to protect? He has to know that my 4th move is some kind of fighting move, like Close Combat or Focus Blast. So more than likely Focus Blast would be a special set. So I'm like, okay, I think he has to pivot into something. I don't think he can ever stay in and give me this. Or he has to protect, one of the two things. And I'm like, if you pivot into something predicting fire/fighting coverage, right, I'm never clicking Grass Knot here. There's absolutely no need. You're either going to go into Slowbro, which I outspeed you anyway, we've already been through this, or you go into Zard, because that will take both and then get the Wish up, which is pretty nice. So with that in mind, rather than just attacking straight up, I can't hit Charizard until it Megas, but it is first turn Mega in this league. So with that in mind here, I'm just going to make another play and just go straight for the nasty plot and go to +4. I've already put 40% off on this Licky, which is great for late game Sharpedo. I've done all I need to do there. If he goes for the Protect, I'll be at +4 to Focus Blast him. And if he goes into the Zard, which is exactly what he does do, I'm faster than him, and he has to Mega Evolve, so then he won't resist my Fighting Stab anymore. So yeah, I didn't get any chip on the switch, and I'm taking poison damage, but I'm okay with this because this Focus Blast is going to OHKO this Charizard. He does choose to stay in. He couldn't really go into anything there. If he went into Slowbro on the Focus Blast, he would have taken a bit of chip. Then he'd have to give me that to Grass Knot, or he'd have to go Coco or Hera on the Grass Knot, and they'd still maybe take 50%. Unfortunately, we do miss the Focus Blast, giving this Charizard a free Dragon Dance. It was his play, absolutely, I completely agree. I don't think he could continue pivoting around this thing. Like, I don't think he could go Slowbro on the Focus Blast, then go Coco on the Grass Knot, or anything like that. I think he essentially had to just go for the DD and hope I missed. I did miss. I have to go for a Focus Blast here again because there's no way in hell I can let this thing get to +2. I have to just trust in the RNG that I'll land my second Focus Blast. I don't want to go hard into Salamence here, for example, and take a Dragon Claw and waste that thing. So my best play was just to stay in and leave Wukong. Wukong did enough in this game. 40% off on the Licky, and a KO on the Skarmory is plenty. If this thing had been able to just OHKO the Zard X as well, that would have been incredible, but it wasn't. It didn't happen. As you can see there, that's just a neutral Dragon Claw, and that thing so does so much. So that's why I couldn't let it get to +2. I think I said in my team builder I could take one even if it got to +2. I was wrong. You see from the damage there that really I could only let it get to +1 and still take one comfortably. But we do always OHKO with Draco Meteor unless he's incredibly bulky, so the set worked out perfectly. The Hellbomberry into the Draco Meteor working out perfectly to take out Zard X. Perfect lure, and that thing can't now sweep my team. Yes, Salamence is really low, but I do still have the Intimidate in the back for the Heracross, which could be incredibly useful. So I am going to preserve this thing and go straight into Warren. Yes, I could have just sacked it. It's not doing a whole lot in this game, but I think that Intimidate could be really useful, and it's always good when you're playing offense to have a sack to kind of just throw out there sometimes. So I'm going to bring in Warren and chew on that Dazzling Gleam. My goodness. And here, this is the freest Wild Charge in my life. There's no way he lets me Earthquake, even if he is Shucker. There's just no way. So I'm going to fire off this Wild Charge, and something's going to take an incredible amount of damage. This Fizz Def Slowbro comes in, and from an almost uninvested non-stab move takes over 50%. Yeah, Digger's Bleed plus Electric Terrain is scary. Very, very scary. I have no reason to overpredict here and click Return or anything like that. I'm just going to click Wild Charge again. It's essentially Stab because of Terrain, so it's doing pretty much as much to everything else. We do score a crit here. It is completely inconsequential because he's essentially sacking this thing at this point. This thing was never taking 2. I am going to Wild Charge always a second time here. I was never going to let him pivot back into Slowbro on a return and try and pull some like Rocky Helmet regen shenanigans around me or whatever. Not happening. I'm just going to click Wild Charge again and take a KO, as he now gets to bring out his Scarf Heracross. I thought about going immediately back into Palisand, as even Knockoff isn't really doing too much, but I figured I may as well go into Emiliano. I've lost my items, so Knockoff's not going to do too much, Close Combat's not going to do too much, and I don't think he ever Stone Edges, having seen that Palisand was my initial response. Stone Edge would be a very odd play, as he does indeed just go for the knock. And I take that, I get an Intimidate off. This thing's at -1, so it really can't do too much now. And again, I'm going to preserve this Intimidate. I'm going to preserve this offensive sack for later in the game and go instead into Bosch. I don't really need Bosch at this point in the game. This thing was meant as a pivot for Zard X, but I really don't need it now. It's done its job. I can just throw it out, sponge up that Knockoff, and click Volt Switch. Rotom Wash doing Rotom Wash things here, being an incredibly bulky pivot. Out comes the Tapu Koko, but that's no problem. It won't take much from the Volt Switch. It's worth bearing in mind that because Rotom isn't grounded, it doesn't get the Electric Terrain boost. You have to be grounded to benefit from the boost. But nevertheless, we get a little bit of chip off on the Tapu Koko. I guess it was Sash. You break it Sash? I don't think it's Sash, though. We can go into Warren here, and I consider just clicking Earthquake and killing this thing. He could potentially Sugar Berry, he could go into something else. I figured my best play was just to return. I would basically put this down to where it would die even through Sugar Berry to Sharpedo's Earthquake. I would be able to hit the Heracross incredibly hard if he tried going into Heracross on an Earthquake. And I would be able to hit the Slowbro very hard too. So it was just a way of essentially losing no offensive momentum. Here he's going to go into the Slowbro, potentially scouting for the Quick Attack, making sure he doesn't lose his Coco. But I have no reason to do that. I don't even have Quick Attack on this set, but regardless, I'm just better off clicking Return again anyway. If Tapu Koko kills me, I can then get in Sharpedo and potentially do work that way. But I do have to be very careful because this thing is Rocky Helmet. My Sash is going to be broken by this thing, and that's a really tough situation because that means Z Coco will be able to kill me through Protect, but hopefully we can try and dance around that Coco, maybe lure out the Z or figure out what kind of a set it is anyway, or even just win at this point with Palisand, because Palisand is going to beat the Heracross 1v1 always, and hopefully can beat the Tapu Koko 1v1. So as the Heracross does come out here, I believe I just sack the Salamence to get off a nice, juicy Intimidate. There's no reason not to. I'm pretty sure my opponent just goes for the knockoff. I think had I stayed in and clicked Liquidation, I would have 2-hit KO'd this thing and taken that knockoff for sure. But there was just no reason really not for me to do that. I could go back into Shark here and click Liquidation twice, but instead I go into Palisand. And I do think that was kind of a misplay, I think. You know, I think my best play was just to go Shark actually and Liquidation twice, knowing that he was scarfed into this knock. But I guess I was still a little bit afraid that he might not be Scarf or something, because we haven't actually had that information fully confirmed yet. I don't think we've switched out on a turn that reveals that, because last time we switched out on this thing was with the Palisand, which was naturally slower anyway. But I can just go for the Psychic here, and then I'm going to follow that up with an Earth Power to make sure he doesn't try and go Tapu Koko. I'm not sure exactly what range of health that thing was at, but I know that Earth Power will definitely KO it regardless, even through a Sugar Berry. So I'm basically just trying to condition him to not go hard Koko, and that way I can get off a Shore Up and basically guarantee to win this game if I get out of range of Grass Knot. So we go for the big Shore Up here. We get back to a really good range of health. And here again, I'm just going to Shadow Ball this time because it will guarantee to kill the Hera, and it will kill the Koko if it comes in. And I thought at this range of health I would be able to take the Grass Knot and guarantee to win the game. However, you're going to see as the Tapu Koko comes out that I made a bit of a mistake in my calcs, and I can't take this Grass Knot, and I was a little bit impatient, and I should have shored up one more time, because then I would have taken the Grass Knot. So now I'm actually in a bit of a tricky spot, because if he is Z, I can't protect on him with Shark, so I have to kind of go into Rotom, because the only way he can KO Rotom is with the Z. So I'm going to force him to burn that, and if I land my Hydro Pump, I will KO this thing guaranteed. So yes, I'm relying on the Hydro Pump to land, but more importantly, I'm just trying to bait out the Z so that I can then protect with Shark. He actually just reveals the Volt Switch here, rather than like the T-Bolt, and I'm like, okay, well, that's definitely not KOing, and Bosch does land the Hydro Pump to pick us up the 2-0, I believe, win. That endgame definitely got scary. It turns out he was Sugar Berry Koko, but I had to play around the Z just in case. I had to try and confirm the win no matter the sets. But as I say, I definitely misplayed here just before. Where are we? There's the Earth Power. It was just this went on a little bit longer than I remembered. I definitely misplayed here when I went into Salamence and I got the Intimidate drop, and I found out that this thing was locked into knockoff more than likely. I probably should have just gone Shark and clicked Liquidation, because Palisand always beat Tapu Koko 1v1 and this thing 1v1, so there wasn't really an end game where he won, even if he wasn't Scarf, even if he clicked Close Combat the turn after. Moxie knockoff wasn't going to beat my Palisand, so I should have just gone into Shark here, Liquidation. If he went into Koko, that thing died. He brought this thing back out, he would have to Scarf himself into Close Combat or Bug Stab to be able to kill my Sharpedo, and at that point Palisand 1v1'd him, or he would have to let me Liquidation this thing twice, at which point I would then outspeed the Koko as well when that came in and kill it with Earthquake / Liquidation. So yeah, I kind of misplayed here for sure, and made the end game a lower score than it should have been. Really, it should have been a 3-0, I guess, and definitely forced some uncomfortable 50-50s and trying to land a Hydro Pump. So it might seem weird to go back over a game I've won and talk about misplays, but you can always improve, right? Even when you win, there are things that you can do better for everyone. So I definitely wanted to reflect on that endgame, kind of talk about it with you guys, because this was by no means a perfect performance. However, GG to Goldoa. As he said, I felt like our prep was just really on point this game. Like Infernape plus Habamberry Salamence and AV Diggersby, those front three on the team you see down there on the left-hand side, I felt like were just so good in this matchup that it really helped me out when I did make some misplay later in the game. That being said, I don't think Goldoa played badly at all, and I don't think his prep was bad at all. I think he played super well. Sugar Berry Koko went in against my team, so I thought that was a good bring. Scarf Hera was definitely a menace, and the Zard X, when he went for that D-dance on the Focus Blast miss, although I would love to scream hacks from the rooftops, it was his play. It was entirely his play, and he might have just swept me from that point if I hadn't had the Habamberry Salamence. So yeah, he definitely prepped and played super well. But your Bowland Bovines do emerge the 2-0 victors, and we are now 4-1, and jeez, that feels good to say. I don't remember the last time we started a league this brightly. Like, I tend to just flop around for the first 4 or 5 weeks getting used to my draft, but this draft and the trades we've made have really clicked and just stuck. So yeah, hopefully we can continue this good run of form. Next week we take on OPJellicent, a player that I want to beat very badly. If you've followed me since the IBL D League, you might remember that he beat me in the final of that league. So yeah, for sure, I have a lot of love for OPJellicent, but I also won that W very badly. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that game. I know I am. Regardless, thank you so much for loafing around with me, guys, and I'll catch you again next time.